Well, it's a sunny Friday in Cairns, and heading off to the old Smithfield to get my cheap parmesan cheese at Woolies, and some nice dessert stuff as well. Some I don't know what they're going to have there as far as pastries are concerned, but there might be something interesting I can pick up there. So yeah, just whether I'll have to pay for the trip, the exorbitant amount of $1 to go there and back, I don't know. You just never know with the drivers here. Sometimes they collect fares, sometimes they don't. And will the bus be packed out or not? Look, one question I hadn't actually addressed, the local issue, is Taylor Point, which is, but just it's in Trinity Beach and it's right next to Kawara. It juts out at the end of the beach, and there's it was sold to a private buyer last year, I think for $8 million, and he was from Seaford, presumably in the Morning Peninsula down in Melbourne. And interesting background this guy's got. He sounds like he might be Greek. It's a Greek type name, but I might be wrong there. Something Mediterranean anyway. He's an inventor, an engineer, an inventor, and specifically has patents out for a design of a new gate. So I call him the gatekeeper of Taylor Point. And he's tried to clean up the area. Apparently it was pretty run down. Sounds similar to what happened to Double Island. There's a lot of garbage stuff that had to be cleared out and what have you. And I think he's going to allow some public access to his property, but he still needs to get the work done beforehand. But some of the locals have been pretty unhappy about the whole thing. They think it should all be public land. And it's a bit of bad will about the fact that the Labor government sold it to a private buyer last year. So they've actually taken some physical action against his property, which is not the way to go really. But I understand how they feel, because I think part of his property now includes what in effect is a private beach, and that's very un-Australian. I would have thought beaches are supposed to be for public access everywhere in the country, so that's not good. But yeah, so there's been lobbying to make it into public land, but I don't like the chances. It's just going to be a festering sore, I think, with the locals, which is not good. I mean, seriously, it's not a huge area. You think they could have made it into public land, but hopefully he'll develop it to a stage where we can. Locals can use it. Apparently Sid was telling me there is a pathway that overlooks his property on that top of that ridge between Moore Street and Vassy Esplanade, so you can get a bit of a look down there, and I might go down with Sid and see what we can see, maybe take some shots. Anyway, that's, like I say, it's one of those situations that really shouldn't occur. There's the denuded property there. I think are they doing a new fence or something? Maybe that's why they took the foliage off. They removed it all. But like I said, now there's just no cover. Not good. I mean, there are no obligation to provide it, of course. It's a private property, but you know, we don't have a bus shelter here, so we've got nothing. So the best thing is just to turn up before the bus is supposed to arrive, and hopefully you don't have to wait too long in the sun. At least it's not raining, it's not wet season, it's quite hot. And my tomatoes are progressing quite nicely. The other thing is progressing nicely at this stage is another bloody hell, this traffic, sorry about the noise, just ridiculous. Yeah, Starship will be is scheduled to take off next Sunday their time in America, which is Monday our time, at night. So it'll be late morning on Monday, I would think, but don't quote me on that one. But fingers crossed everything's going to go to plan, and we'll finally get a flight, and hopefully it'll survive long enough so I can test the heat tails in recovery mode when it returns through the atmosphere and see how they hold up. That's something we hadn't been able to do. They're also going to try to deploy some dummy Starlink satellites. So we can only hope that finally they did figure out what the problem was with the previous ones. Now we've got dogs to worry about too. Well, I'm commencing the long march back from the bus stop across the road there. On the main highway, the Cook Highway, heading back to my house, which will be about a half-hour walk, maybe 35 minutes, not sure. We should actually probably time it. Just past 10 o'clock at the moment, 11 past 10. Okay, we'll see how long this takes. I've never done a proper timing of it. Inconsistencies with the buses again as far as their charging is concerned. There was no charge to get to Smithfield, but the lady driving the 110 on the return trip here charged me 50 cents single fare, so I'm not even going to bother getting the bus back, even if there is one waiting there. Well, I'll be tempted, but we'll see. It'll cost me 50 cents if I do it. Not that that's going to break the bank, but it's good I'm doing the exercise. Actually, I don't mind having a walk. The weather's okay, and you know, just not doing enough exercise, so it's a good thing. And the traffic isn't banked up like it was the other day. It's free flowing, although it did take me a little bit of time to get across the road just now, but that's just pot luck, I guess. So, I'm looking forward to my coffee. Always looking forward to my morning coffee. A little later than usual, but we'll be okay. I've got nearly all the stuff, everything I really wanted to get at the supermarket. I think they had chicken on special, but I couldn't find out where the chooks were. Mind you, I didn't even bother asking someone where they were. There were some staff around. That's the beauty of shopping when it's not super busy. You can usually get some advice. So anyway, so late today, going off to happy hour, but I'll be recuperating from my walk for an hour or two, and then do the usual crap around the house before we head off and have a couple of drinks. Probably Palm Cove Tavern, I would imagine, but we might end up in Smithfield, which means I probably could have killed two birds with one stone and done my shopping at the same time. But I want to get my Parmesan, so if I'd shopped before we had drinks, I wouldn't want anything that's perishable with the heat. So quite a few cars coming up Kawara. Busy road too. Just a lot of traffic. You'd think it'd be quiet this time of day. Yeah, so fingers crossed on the Starship launch. I think if they can get to test the Starlink deployment, if that works out okay, they might be tempted to actually build a disposable upper stage where they can actually deploy Starlink satellites from the non reusable Starship version, which they are talking about, and before they get it right, because I've got a feeling this could take a while to get all that heat shield stuff sorted, and I don't know if they'll ever get it to the stage where it's like a plane and can be just have a cursory check after the end of the flight and then send them off again. I don't know. It's asking a fair bit, but we'll see. We'll see. Well, I wimped out and got the bus back that was at Terminus. They were going to charge me 50 cents here, and but they couldn't, because they couldn't print a ticket. So interesting that didn't work. As well as when I took some cash out of the ATM, the ANZ ATM at Smithfield, they couldn't print a receipt. So everything's breaking down. All this technology we've got doesn't work. So anyway, so I can't tell you how long it's going to take me to walk from that distance, because I decided to wimp out. I got a bit of extra walking in, but it saved me getting hot and sweaty, and it'll get me there a little sooner too, get me back home. So it was a reasonably successful shopping trip, it didn't take too long. Well, I'm awaiting the launch of the Starship, which was aborted yesterday, delayed by 24 hours. I thought actually it was going to take place on Wednesday, but it's Tuesday morning. It looks like to go. I'm looking at the, I've got two different feeds here, one which is a NASA sort of like fan feed, and the other one's from SpaceX that's I've got on my TV screen, so it's quite a nice large picture. I'll just give you an idea of what it was like. In the background you've got chatter from Elon Musk and a couple of his luminaries. So I'll just switch to long shot, and you can have a look at the big screen, which I don't usually use. I don't hardly ever use my TV, but today I thought I would, and fingers crossed this launch takes place. Weather is an issue. They said there's 55% chance I'll go ahead with the launch, but we'll just see. Fingers crossed it all works out. So I'll just switch to the long shot now. You won't have to look at my ugly mug for any longer. There you go. There's a view of the door out in my lounge living area. There's my laptop, not laptop, the PC screen that's... it alternates between laptop and the PC, but I've got a feed there from the NASA fans, and this is the main one from SpaceX on my big screen. And like I said, it's getting pretty close to launch. 19 minutes, and up the top of the screen there you can see a progress bar which to show all the areas they've got to go through to get to the launch. So we're in the final phase now, and I think the weather's looking a little better, but I'm no meteorologist and I'm no rocket scientist, so I'm only guessing.
Sweet. Let's turn our attention back to the rockets. They're just checking in. We are about 19
minutes. Now this is normally they would have two engineers doing the broadcast, but today they've got they've got a different setup with Elon Musk and a couple of guys. So
we are not currently tracking any hardware blockers to launch.
So it's looking good at the moment. I didn't expect this to happen today, so it's a bonus. Sorry about the background noise. I just wanted to give you a bit of a feel for the live feed. And fingers crossed we have a launch happening very soon. I mean, it's great to have the information on the big screen, but the problem is this feed, this YouTube feed, I get ads. And I was just watching this, and for about 8 seconds it was interrupted by a couple of inane adverts. If that happened at the time of the launch, I would not be a happy chappy, I've got to tell you. They've now switched to a more conventional coverage, and they've got, I think it's the launch director and one of the engineers, a lady named something Lee, obviously Chinese descent, and I don't know where the American high tech would be without people from China helping them out originally, original ethnicity anyway. Yeah, that's nothing unusual there. The Chinese space race there, it's going quite strong. They're doing quite well in China as well with space, and they're the major competitor now with the US. It's not Russia anymore. Russia's got its own problems, many problems, as does China, but China is way ahead of them in space. So anyway, things are still going along. There's no sign of a hold on this flight, and hopefully it will progress smoothly, and the weather will hold up and the ads won't come on. So we've got a few issues here to worry about watching the Starship test flight number 10. Here's a bit of cross promotion from Elon Musk with his Optimus robot getting a plug. Big surprise. Yeah, they just switched to another young woman doing a tile or something or other. She was flogging Starlink. So this is turning into not so much of a Starship launch coverage as an infomercial for Musk's enterprises. No doubt we'll get a full self-driving Tesla ad coming soon. So yeah, this is not the way it used to happen. Maybe he's getting a bit desperate in trying to flog his products. I don't know, but this is not the way it was done in the past, and it's certainly a regressive step in my opinion. So we'll see how it all pans out, but I might go back to the other coverage if this is going to be the way it's done. Well, it's a bit frustrating. They've just put a 40-second hold on the launch because the weather's not benign enough to launch the rocket. As you can see there on the far left-hand side, the bottom left-hand side of the screen, the weather doesn't look that bad down there. So they can hold for a few minutes, but after that, then we're basically stuffed. They'll have to go through this whole routine again tomorrow, presumably. Very, very frustrating. Yeah, I don't know. I just... I have to wait 3 months for this flight, and it just seems to be one that's cursed at the moment. This year, SpaceX seems to have lots of issues, especially with the Starship 36 blowing up on the test stand. I mean, that just wasn't something that was ever expected. It never happened before, that particular fault. So, yeah, it's been a rough year. We'd like some good luck for a change, but the weather's against us today. So, yeah, it's tough watching this stuff. Now there's another ad coming on. Oh, God, how frustrating. Well, there you go. That's the word I hate to see on one of these coverages, scrub. So, I have to wait till tomorrow, yet again for an attempt at this flight. Oh, my God, is it ever going to happen? Well, just to add to the mix, today I just had an internet outage just after the broadcast of the Starship scrub mission. So it stayed on long enough so I could actually watch that fiasco take place, or not take place in this case. So, well, at least the sun's shining, and it looks as though I might get a full contingency of my Coles delivery today. In spite of the fact that Coles can miss some items sometimes, it's a pretty reliable service, and one of the few services I'd say that are actually up to scratch these days. So kudos where it belongs, and hopefully they can keep the good work going, because everything else seems to be collapsing around me, including my internet connection. So, oh boy. Hopefully things will start working in this country, but I'm not going to hold my breath. Well, it's the last Thursday of August, and it's a beautiful day, a bit breezy, but beautiful temperature, clear skies. Top temperature of 31 in Cairns, so probably about 30 here, I would imagine. So, and there's my neighbour's fence being constructed. They're taking quite some time with it, actually. Taking in excess of a week, maybe a couple of weeks. So, but the big news is that yesterday, after 2 aborted attempts, they finally got the Starship test flight number 10 off the ground, and it was a stunning success. So very, very happy with that. I actually used my HDMI cable and hooked it directly up to my TV screen, and I didn't get all those annoying YouTube ads that I got by getting onto YouTube via the Samsung TV. I don't know what the difference is, but there was ads every 10 minutes or so in varying durations. It was very annoying, but none of that because it was actually yesterday, because it was from my laptop and directly into the TV, and it worked a treat. It was great to see on the big screen. But yeah, as far as the actual flight's concerned, every one of those beautiful Raptor engines, 33 engines, fired up. Fantastic sight as it went into the sky. And there's my bus. Not such a glamorous form of transport as the Starship, but it gets me to where I need to go. So yeah, went in, took off really. It took a long time to get off the pad, you know. I guess there's just so much weight and energy required for the initial thrust. But once it got moving, everything went perfectly. The stage separation went perfectly. The booster came down into the Gulf of America. Okay, I've got to call it that now, thanks to Trumpy. It actually had a controlled landing, and then it fell on its side, which is all planned, and then it burst into flames. So, oh no, that was actually the Starship, sorry. The booster just got dumped into the ocean. I'm ahead of myself. So, yeah, that went perfectly well. They got more data about, you know, line of approach and way to send the heavy booster back. So it's all data that they require. But the other fantastic thing that happened after that was the Starship itself was running perfectly, which is which we were a bit worried about, because we'd lost control on that Starship several times prior to that, but everything was going fine. And then there came the deployment of the dummy Starlink satellites, and there's 8 of those on board. And this time the door opened correctly. I think it was, it didn't really open that well the previous time, but this time it was fine. And it took about a minute to deploy each of these dummy satellites, which look like big waffles, and all went perfectly well. So that was great. And then the next test was to fire up the Raptor engine after it had been shut off, and that worked perfectly as well. So that was another crucial test. And then the major finale of the whole thing was the Starship coming back into the atmosphere. And what I found interesting about this is it was nowhere near as many plasma blooms as we'd seen previously. It appeared as if there was a lot less heat generated, although maybe it was happening under the underside and the camera couldn't pick it up. You could see a sort of a purple haze where the heat had come, and one of the flaps got a little bit of damage, but nothing compared to what had happened previously. None of the stuff seemed to have lost any structural integrity, which is what seemed to have happened the previous time. And it then did its belly flop maneuver and landed relatively softly into the Indian Ocean. Then it fell on its side, and then it blew up, and that's where I was a little concerned, but apparently that was all expected. All the data they required, they didn't have to get from salvaging the ship. They get it electronically, so they all the geeks got all the stuff they required. It was a picture perfect mission, which was well overdue. And it after 2 aborted attempts this week, it was looking pretty grim. It looked like there really was a curse on SpaceX, but now it's all perfect. So it was a real relief. So now they can get moving on the last of the Block 2 vehicles, which is going to be next month, hopefully. It could well happen that way, because everything seemed to go absolutely spot on this time. So hopefully we will get another launch in next month, and then we've got to wait for the Raptor 3s, because they haven't got enough engines that have been produced yet, and they're still building the actual Raptor 3, which is an upgrade from the Raptor 2 that we're currently going through. But this will be the last Raptor 2, the last Starship 2 I should say, using Raptor 2's engines, and next we'll be on to the Raptor 3 engines with the Starship 3 iteration, and hopefully we won't have the same problems we had with version 2, because the version 1 was fine, and then we went to version 2 and we had those aborts, missions a couple of times, and they couldn't get the data from re-entry, which is a really vital part of the process, and now they've got that, and they've proven they can also deploy Starlink satellites. Well, there's the bus I just got off, packed out again, the 110. I don't know what's happening with the buses at the moment, because the 110 was supposed to be the bus that was supposed to turn up at the hospital stop. It didn't. It was the 111, and that got to Smithfield about 5 or 6 minutes early, which is unheard of today. So I don't know what's going on. I do need exercise, so I'm sort of happy to walk. Just so claustrophobic on buses when they're that absolutely packed with school kids. And the thing is, they've got this place called Newman College to just set up at the uni. Now that's a stop where you've got to try to avoid at this time of day, which is just after 3 o'clock. And otherwise it's Sardine City. So not great. Want to get on to a different topic we forgot to mention, which was about a show called Naked and Afraid, which I watch fairly regularly. There's one called Apocalypse at the moment, and what was interesting, they've got to basically fend for themselves in Africa, South Africa, and there's a whole lot of crap they have to contend with. The one guy reckons there was a black mamba snake, a very deadly and aggressive snake, staying in their hideout, their little boma, which is there to protect you from the animals. And there was one on the wall apparently, but I don't know if I believe that, because I know that the producers of Naked and Afraid keep intercutting shots of crocodiles and lions and elephants and God knows what, and they want to make it look more dangerous than it is, because they're not going to endanger their cast. I don't think I've ever heard of any of them coming to grief, so they'd probably get their asses sued if that happened, although I'm sure that they have to, the contestants have to sign a waiver prior to being on the show. Anyway, what sort of, it's quite conflicted, because people obviously, the two things they really require are water, which you can generally get by just boiling water and make it drinkable, and the other thing is you get food, and food is not that easy to get. So there's this couple that they split up into tribes, little tribes. There's this one 2-person tribe. I think it's actually is the male. He's actually from South Aussie, and he's not much, he didn't regard himself as much of a hunter, but he had the bow and arrow. So he did a test with his teammate named Teal, a woman from America, and she was much better, and she'd done archery as a kid, and she was much more accurate when they were testing her out, so he gave her the mantle. She missed out the first time she tried hunting, but the second try was very bizarre, and it was like, it's a young antelope, a small antelope, indigenous to South Africa, and it just stood there in front of her. And the speculation online is that the animal might have been blind, but Teal got it, shot it the first time, and it jumped up in the air big time and then fell down dead. But it was a conflicted emotions for her, because they desperately needed the food, but she felt bad about killing an animal like that. And it seemed pretty naive, but it might have been blind, that's why it didn't move. But you think smell would indicate to them whether humans are around anyway, but I don't know. It's it was quite heart-wrenching actually to see, because it's like Bambi being shot. Quite an innocent looking animal, one minute and just dead the next. So the meat was okay, so it didn't have any sickness as such, but it may well have been blinded or something. But yeah, it was just, she felt really bad about it. Was happy to provide food, but conflicted in that she felt it was pretty cruel, obviously. Tough thing to do to an animal. So, I must admit, I found it quite a little distressing to see. I wonder how other people felt. Oh, well, I'm just in my backyard on a perfect autumn day, just August day, I should say. Yeah, it's a real bottler. I was absolutely exhausted after my walk back from the bus stop on the highway. Would have taken me about 35 minutes, but got to admit I felt quite euphoric having a few dark and stormy cocktails after that, and I made myself a meal, which is the spaghetti topping using the capsicums. I slice up the capsicums and mix them up with a sauce made which consists of tomatoes and tomato paste and what have you. It's always been a crowd pleaser for me. Always the best when I first make it. It's never as good when I reheat it, which I'll do tonight, or if I freeze it, it makes it even less palatable. I think because the capsicums just don't hold very well. What we're looking at right ahead here is my amazingly healthy plant that is going to produce some fruit for me, which will be wonderful. And just see a butterfly going by too. Yeah, so look, yeah, I've recovered fairly well from the walk. It was good to do because I hadn't done the exercise for a while. And so, yeah, that's great. Oh, still a bit tired. I actually took a sleeping pill again last night, and I didn't the previous night, and I had a terrible night's sleep, and I took one for 2 previous nights to that too. So I've taken 3 this week, which is really unusual. I won't do it again tonight. We'll see. I'm feeling better than I did yesterday, but not quite sure why I'm having such bad sleep. I know that Sid sleeps well, and I'm sort of a bit envious of him on that. But anyway, look, if you enjoyed the content, could you please support the channel by subscribing and commenting, or giving me a thumbs up? That would be most appreciative. Most appreciated is what I'm trying to say. And I'll just give you a close-up of the passion fruit plant, which we are looking at right now. There's I've never grown one before, but I'm assuming that well, that's not passion fruit. That one, that's a weed. I'll have to get rid of that. But I'm assuming that the black bits will turn into the passion fruit itself. That's my assumption, but I've never grown them before, so I'm just hoping that is the case, in which case it's quite good because I'll definitely get some fruit, and I'm definitely going to get some tomatoes. I've already got a couple that are maturing now. You get in close here. Where are they? There's a whole lot of flowers on this one, as you can see, and this one's the one that's actually got the most mature actual fruit. There's 2 of them just there. I haven't got that in frame. There you go. Yeah, you can see them now. So they still haven't reddened up. They're going to be cherry tomatoes. And I've got another couple happening here. This plant here is doing rather well. It's only a small pot, but it still seems to be producing quite a bit of tomatoes. It gets a bit of sun. There's the ones there that are actually being produced. So I've got at least 4. Can you see them in front? I'm trying to get in frame here. Anyway, they're there. They're not big. They're a bit smaller than the other ones, but there's plenty more flowers being formed, so it's going to be okay, I think. So this year I may not get my capsicums growing, but at least I've got the other plants doing their thing. So, and I've got the lime tree's already produced a couple of lines which have dropped off, so I might take the seeds off them. I've got a whole lot more capsicum seeds today because of the yesterday's meal, so we might have a go at that. So that's about it for me on this particular video. It's been a good week with SpaceX having a bit of luck. I'm still not convinced about their full self-driving with Tesla, but Elon Musk is certainly kicking goals when it comes to space exploration. Oh, the other thing I forgot to mention too is it was the 30th anniversary for one of the SpaceX Falcon 9 boosters. It had gone up. It had been used 30 times, reused that many times. So that's quite extraordinary. I don't know if they ever expected to get that much use out of a booster, but it's reduced the cost of access to space remarkably. The more they can get out of them, the better. I don't know if it'll ever be like an aeroplane, a jet with the reusability, but if they can get that type of reusability with the Starship, they'll be doing very well. But that's a bigger ask because you've got to get the heat shield right, and that's a real engineering challenge. Anyway, fingers crossed it all works out well and we get to see another flight next month.